Ranting time! Yeah, this isn't just going to be a thought dump video this time around, because we kind of just looked forward to another new list. It was pretty much that time again. You know the way it works. We just sort of go through the motions, do our sort of jazz, play our games, kick ass, chew bubblegum and whatnot, and the next thing we know we get this list. And so we're like, oh my god, this list is everything. Am I gonna actually nail things correctly? Have I made correct predictions? Do I get what I want? Most people, it depends on the person. If you ask me, I'd say I woke up, I saw it was a new list. I'm like, oh my god, finally we have it, and take a look, and it's just like, oh my god, this list is total fucking garbage. I mean, how do I begin with this? Look, okay, like, let me just try to be honest with here. I didn't expect a whole lot of changes. I didn't really expect anything to be banned either. Obviously a card did get banned, which pisses me off, but at the same time, I didn't see a whole lot of changes happen. I believe there was a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 changes. Okay, so that's a noteworthy number of changes, but not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But the list, just what they've done and what they've made and what they've changed and what they've tweaked, it's interesting, but at the same time it sucks. Because once again, they just did not do enough with this list. They seem to be afraid to do a shitloaf of changes in each list. They just want to make ever so slight fine-tunes to the list, to the meta, and I think if anything, it's just there now as a money grabber. It's literally all that the frickin' thing is. It's a money grabber now. That's literally the only motivation behind the lists that they make. That's why each of these lists suck ass. So anyways, let's just move on. Our one banned card, the first banned card since the jars, which I think were in the July list. Either July or, No, I'm pretty sure it was the April list. So, our first banned card since that time is Super Polymerization. Shit. 3 cards onto the limited list. We have Artifact Moral Tark. The only one of the limited that's actually gone down from a higher number. The other 2 have come back from the banned list. Darkstrike Fighter and SnatchSteal. Yeah, SnatchSteal. 3 cards that have moved from limited to 2. And that is Honest, Goyo Guardian, Dark Hold. And then 5 cards, 4 of which were moved from semi to 3, and 1 that jumped straight from 1 to 3. We have Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. Work. This mouse is a bit of a dick, so just bear with me. Mermail Abyss Gund, Reborn Tengu, amazingly enough, Reasoning, and the Transmigration Prophecy. So, let's just try to hopefully keep my sister all the way over on the other side of the house and keep her voice down, or else she's going to end up ruining this recording. And then I'll be raging out at her. Let's just go through the list. Super Polymerization. Really? I understand the whole idea about putting it to 1 in the previous list. It's obviously a pretty hella powerful card, and it's a very annoying card if you're on the receiving end of it. But seriously, was there any real reason to ban this card? I'm sorry, there just wasn't. There really wasn't. I will continue to ask so many rhetorical questions and then immediately answer them, which sounds like the dumb thing to do, but the fact of the matter still remains. Super Poly did not, in the ever so slightest, deserve to get banned. It was perfectly fine at 1. Like, this is one of my favorite this is one of my favorite cards in the entire hero deck, and now I'm just like, yeah, sorry, you're not allowed to play it. It's like, for fuck's sake. I was considering building a Shadol deck. Now I'm considering just telling the whole deck to go fuck itself, because that's the reason that the fucking card got banned in the first place. Or at least to their opinion, it's the fucking reason the card got banned in the first place. But the point still remains. Why? I want to know a legitimate reason as to why Super Poly got banned, because it didn't deserve it, in my opinion. I don't see any real reason. If I'm blind and people just, like, there's a proper fucking reason relating to the Illuminati or some shit, then I'd really like to know. But until I find that reason, I will continue to maintain that Super Poly has been hard done by here. It has been absolutely shafted, and we as players, not just of Heroes, but even of Shadows, not like Shadows would even really give that much of a crap, have been shafted by this. It did not deserve to get banned. I'm sorry, it just didn't. But I'm not going to go. I'm just going to move on to the next one, because I'm just going to end up going on a pointless tangent, and people are just going to lose interest really, really quickly. Oh shit, yeah, Artifact Moral Attack. Kind of forgot that this is the next one I have to look at, because this one sucks as well. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the more clear-cut examples of Konami's list being money grabbers, as I stated earlier in this rant. Because Hat was not doing anything. Hat was floating under the radar since the Duelist Alliance decks came out. I mean, yeah, some Shadow players did run artifacts, and that was fine. That was an interesting sort of setup. I was probably going to run the artifacts in Shadows just because I do like the artifacts in general. And now there's no reason to. It's just about impossible. Like, why? Again, why is Moral Attack getting put to 1? Not even just because of the whole, because it's too good. It's really not. I will continue to maintain until the end of time that the one artifact card that needed to be hit was Sanctum, and I will continue to maintain that belief, because it's really true. Moral Attack was basically put on a pedestal where Sanctum should have been placed. It's not fair on Moral Attack to be bloody put to 1 like this. It's ridiculous. I hate this thing with a passion. Fuck's sake. I can't even complete a coherent sentence. That's how much it pisses me off at the moment. I know this is, I mean, I gave you fair warning that this was going to be a rant, so if you're still here and expecting something other than a rant, then I don't know what the hell to say, but fuck. Oh, Moral Attack just, it sucks. But, whatever. Let's just break the anger by talking about Darkstrike Fighter, maybe even if it is just for 20 seconds. I mean, does anybody even give a shit? It has its errata now in the TCG, so why have it here? It's going to go to 3 at the next list as well, or at least 2, but the point still remains. It's there. I mean, you can use it as a cowboy if you want, but just remember, it is only main phase 1 now. And only once per turn, blah 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 blah. That's what makes it suck. It's a shame that it's not anywhere near as broken as it is, but I don't know. I guess they just thought, this thing should not even be in the list. It should not have ever been in the list in the first place. It's just the deck that it was good in made it so freaking stupid that it, for some reason, wasn't fair. So it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, I don't think anybody's going to give a shit. Some people might be surprised that it didn't go straight to 3 because it is that bad of a card, but I don't know. Better to be conservative, I guess. SnatchSteal. This is the other card that came off of the Forbidden list and is now back in our game. And I want to know why, because this thing sucks. This thing is so fucking, I'm not saying sucks as in it's a bad card, because it clearly is a good card. It steals an opponent's monster. But that's the part that pisses me off. Like, my only experience with SnatchSteal was having it, my monsters, in one of the, I think one of the DS games or one of the GBA games or something like that, I'd summon a freaking busted-ass monster. I'd, drop a Summon Skull or something, and then Weevil would just drop the SnatchSteal and steal it off me and continue to beat my ass down. That's the part about this card that just grinds my goddamn gears and makes me wonder why the fuck it came back. If there's one thing I hate more than anything else in this game, it's having my monsters stolen off of me. That's the thing that pisses me off whenever my opponent drops Mind Control on me. But I've tried to deal with that, because Mind Control at the very least is only really restrictive to level 4 decks, and if I was running something like Mermails or something, that got a boost. That's actually one positive thing about the list. They got a boost, but I'll talk about that later. Um, then I wouldn't have to worry too much about mind control, because then the opponent probably wouldn't have anything to really overlay with it, or I mean, unless they're running something more synchro based like scraps. But and I think it's going to be a similar sort of thing with SnatchSteal. But at the same time, SnatchSteal, the monster it steals is going to be able to attack. You're going to be able to tribute it for something. You're going to be able to do so much more with this goddamn card, and the main use of this is just basically going to be to steal an opponent's good card, and then probably even just tribute it for something else. So nobody's going to give a flying crap that it gives the opponent 1,000 life points, because the opponent is not going to get that 1,000 life points that they were quote unquote promised. I say that because it shouldn't even be a promise, because most people will pick up on this. But the point still remains. This is not a healthy card to have in our format. It's a horrible, revolting, vomiting piece of crap. And this is probably the one thing that pisses me off the most. Like, I'm disappointed to see Super Poly get banned. Yeah. Like, I will continue to maintain the fact that Super Poly never deserved to get banned. But at the same time, this thing never deserved to come off the fucking ban list. Like, fuck's sake. Ugh. It's a piece of crap. Yeah, that's it. That's it for my freaking opinion on SnatchSteal. Let's move on to the semi-limited. This is where things might actually start to pick up, because a bunch of these cards are actually either who gives a crap or somewhat positive. One of the positives being Honest. I mean, some people might be pissed off. Oh my god, why is Honest at 2? Blah 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 blah. Most of the Satellarknight decks that I see don't even run Honest. I don't even know why. Like, when I put Satellarknights back together, I'm going to be putting 2 Honest in it, because Honest is rad. Honest is boss. Honest is love. Honest is life. Blah 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 blah. And I'm actually kind of amazed. If anything, I will just be happy that I have an opportunity to win a game by summoning Honest, attacking, and dropping Honest on the Honest, because you can never be too honest. I just said too honest. But point is, this is nice to have for most light based decks. So Satellarknights, obviously, I will probably run them in Constellas if I ever build that. Or actually, I do have the deck built. I'm probably going to play it this weekend. If that still hangs around, then I'll obviously throw a second Honest in there if I can fit the second Honest in there. But overall, this is actually probably one of the better ones, at least for me. For the overall sort of meta setup, it's going to give Satellarknights an extra way to protect their net, but that's about it. So I don't think a lot of people should even really care that much, but it's nice. It's nice to have. Goyo Guardian to 2. Again, I don't think anybody's going to give a crap about this, because most people will only ever run the 1. At least now, if they run something that focuses a lot on the rank 6, on the level 6s, and can actually fit that second Goyo in there, then they might give it a go. But aside from that, I don't think there's any real reason to shed our pants at the fact that Goyo Guardian's at 2, because there's really no real reason for any concern here. I think if people run Goyo Guardian, it's only going to be at the 1 anyway, so it's perfectly fine. And the same thing with Dark Hole. I don't think people are going to really care that much. The idea that you can run 2 copies of this card in a deck is still incredible, because I think it's been at 1 since the game first began, and then spent that time as a banned card. But it's just not that great compared to Raigeki, because Raigeki keeps your board safe compared to the other. Yes, like compared to Dark Hole. I mean, both of them are good cards to turn off Vanity's boards, but it's just Raigeki has the more sort of like blowout factor to it, because Dark Hole is just like, if you have a potential blowout play with monsters, the Dark Hole could probably screw that over for you. Raigeki won't. So I think I don't think anybody would give a crap even if this went to 3, just as long as Raigeki is still around. If they ever decide to reban Raigeki, then they're probably going to have to put Dark Hole to 1. But honestly, I don't think anybody should give a shit. So that's the 3 semi-limited cards. The first of the unlimited cards, Blackwing Gale Whirlwind. Um, I suppose some people could be of the opinion that, but like, okay, this should have happened in the previous list, but there's no real reason to complain. I mean, you have it now. It's better late than never. Um, I, of course, am going to see this as a positive because I do run Blackwings myself, and this actually gives me just enough of a reason to maybe consider putting the deck together in this and taking it to a local, because that's actually because I have never actually played Blackwings at a local, because I've had it for a long time, but I haven't played them at a local because they sort of just went south with stuff. But now they're actually becoming a pretty decent synchro deck. I think the big thing with that is there are Blackwing cards I think that are on their way out, so the archetype is still definitely getting some kind of support. And on top of the fact that they've got the ritual deck coming in Necros, they've got a fusion deck, they've got a pretty much primarily Xyz based deck that runs a synchro or two in the form of Burning Abyss. They don't have an out and out synchro deck that can actually compete with those sorts of decks. And I think that's also the reason they put Tengu to 3, which I'll talk about that after Abyss Gun, which is next. So I think that this is a way to give Blackwings a shot to compete, just so that people who do like synchros have that option to play a synchro deck, be able to go to a regional, and do well at it. So I think that there's nothing but positives in this one. This is one of the better. This is probably the best move that they did in this entire list, in my opinion. I'd say Abyss Gun is probably maybe a close second, because it gives Mermails a crack again, but I suppose that's more of a biased opinion right there, because the only negative about this is that I have to go after another Astral Pack Super, because I think I've only got 2 of them. But that aside, Gun to 3, Mermails are almost well and truly back. They've obviously got to work out their own methods to get around the big decks, because I still think that they have a bit of a time having to deal with Burning Abyss in particular. But this is a nice little bonus for them to have. I see nothing but positives coming out of this change, and most people will as well. I mean, if you hate Mermails, then feel free to be all ragey and ranty and shit about how Mermails are still going to suck with a gun, but you're going to see them show up at regionals and YCS. Like, they may not necessarily top, but there's going to be a bit more of them, because this adds a whole bunch of consistency to that deck. So that's another nice little positive to have. It's another Xyz deck. If it's sort of like a Bund Xyz deck, actually, if you don't really want to run something like Burning Abyss, because they're just filled with frickin' money cards up the fucking yin yang. You can run something that doesn't cost quite as much in the form of Mermails and still get the whole Xyz sort of thing. Or you can just run Stellar Knights. But I think that this format is going to be very, very diverse because of the revival of these 2 back to 3, and also Tengu back to 3, because Tengu plants are now a thing. And not to mention as well, it also, with the additional options that they have, like they get access. You can even actually, like, you can legitimately run this in Fire Fist now, because it's a 3. You can maybe run like Fire Fists with the Tengu, like maybe Fire Fist Plant or something. I don't know. Just the ideas are going to come rushing at us thick and fast once this new format comes in. Now that Tengu was at 3, nobody expected Tengu to come back to 3 because it was too bloody strong back then. I suppose the simple fact that there are a lot more answers to graveyard activating effects, I think that's the reason they put Tengu back to 3, because players now actually have the option to Dweller or Forbidden Graveyard, heaven forbid, or Soul Drain, which, yeah, Soul Drain, that's one thing I should probably point out. I'll do that at the end of the list, but just go on a tangent about Soul Drain after that. But you know, there's a whole bunch of options. It's nice to be able to have access to Tengu and know that it is possible to stop that Tengu from doing their shit, short of dropping a warning when it gets removed from the field. So that's a nice little thing to have, I'd say. Reasoning. Does anybody even give a shit? Like, seriously, show of hands, anybody who gives a shit. because I sure as hell don't. I mean, if you're the type that runs Sylvans and runs reasoning in Sylvans, I'm not too sure if reasoning is a staple in Sylvans. I want to say that it is, because it is the whole excavation sort of jazz. But at the same time, Sylvans aren't really that relevant because they don't do much to the Duelist Alliance meta. Um, so I guess they can take this bonus. If they run reasoning, then yay, you can run 3 of it and be all silly, but nobody's really going to notice you unless you take that Sylvan deck and top a regional with it. So that's just my 2 cents on that one. Transmigration Prophecy, pretty much the same thing. Like, I think it like put 2 in the previous list, and I said, oh, this could be a somewhat decent like side deck card, or like just a good sort of card in general for like recycling shit that you may not want in the graveyard. Like if you were playing Light Swans, you could just be like, oh hey, Transmigration Prophecy, I'll just put my BLS back into my deck, top deck it, blah 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 blah. Or BLS wouldn't be quite as relevant, but like a JD or something like that. Or you can just, yeah, that sort of jazz. But at the same time, but that didn't exactly happen, so I don't think there's any real reason to give that much of a crap about it being put to 3, because I don't think that's going to help its cause much in getting it placed in other decks. It's going to be that sort of obscure sort of tech card that people might give a go at, but at the same time, most people, when they try a tech card, they want to try it at 1 first and then see how it goes. Like, if they like it, then they can bump it up to 2 or something like that. If you're going to tech Transmigration Prophecy, you have to run 2 minimum. So that's the thing that might deter some players away from it. So that's my 2 cents on Transmigration Prophecy. That was my thought dump / rant on this entire list. Aside from the slight little rant that I have to go on about now, and that is the bunch of things that they didn't do, because obviously our boy Stratos is still banned. It greatly depresses me, and like combined with the banning of super polymerization, it's like heroes suck balls in our opinion, and we're just going to make them like as useless as possible. I don't get it. I don't understand the hero hate. Like, even if it's indirect, it's still hero hate. In this case, it's like more shadow hate because that's more relevant, but it's still indirect hero hate. But that sucks. But not to mention as well, this thing's still at 1. I don't know why. It's a floodgate card, yes, but it's not. That's the thing with it. It's just I don't see any reason for this to remain at 2. At 1 even. It should go to 2, because most people will side the Soul Drain in and then just never goddamn see it and lose as a result of it. That's the one negative thing about it being put to 1, is because you're just never going to see it. And I think that is a pet peeve of mine. That's probably just me being a bit salty. I'm not gonna deny this, but the point still remains. I think Soul Drain should definitely go to 2. I will maintain this belief until such time as it gets put to 2. But yeah, that's the point. The thing that pisses me off though is that Vanities are still at 3. Why? Please ask me. I'd really like to know why. I'm gonna bring this. No, not then. I'm gonna bring this up just as sort of a visual sort of guide to the people. Yeah, this thing. See, it's still at 3. Why? This thing is the ugliest, most unhealthiest, vomiting piece of crap in the entire game, and it's still at 3. Why the fuck do Cock-Nami have to milk that much money out of one stupid goddamn card before they hit it? This is revolting. I now have to continue to be conservative when I try to go for a special summon play because, oh hey, Vanity Emptiness, and then I frickin' lose to it because it's a piece of shit. Oh my god. I feel like between Super Poly, banned, losing the artifact engine, and having cards that should, by just about everybody else's opinion, including my own, get put to 1 or banned or something, just remaining completely untouched, and giving players the maximum amount of fucking copies of the card in the deck. Between those two things, like, this thing is It's like puking on a pile of shit. I tried to think up of something other than the AVGN reference, but I cannot come up with anything other than than the AVGN reference. It is puking on a pile of shit. This is probably one of the worst goddamn things to end the freaking year on. So this is our early Christmas present from Konami. And the Christmas card that comes with it says, "Merry Shitmas, Crappy New Year." Well, fuck you too, Konami. Just, for God's sake. I sure as hell hope that they do one of those fucking things like in Bad Boys 2, where somebody should just, like, drop a whole bunch of freaking rats into their money stash so that the rats can just eat all their fucking money because they fucking well deserve it. This is a piece of shit. And that's just about all I have to say about my rant, because holy shit, it's nearly 26 minutes in length. Well, that's what happens when you piss the average Yu-Gi-Oh player off, or at least the average scrubbish one. So yeah, rant over, thought dump over, see you for whatever it is that I do next.